no piano music. No sweet songs from an old lover. No terrible song playing from a terrible songwriter. Just hello and welcome to So It's a Show! It's a podcast where we attempt to keep up with Lorelai and Rory's pop culture references on Gilmore Girls. I'm Kyla.
And I'm Taylor.
And we're starting out this show and we're already singing.
OMG. We probs need to stop.
Probs, yes. Most deaf. Hey there.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm living the dream at the lake, as my cup says.
Oh. If your cup says it, it must be true.
It must be true. It is true. It's nice seeing lake from my window. Not a bad view.
So what does my cup say about me?
Your cup says, I'm Taylor, and I'm a weirdo who drinks coffee at 7 o'clock at night.
Well, to be fair, I got this cup with a green lady on it at, noon.
How are you still drinking it?
Just drinking it slowly. Put some ice in it again.
But it waters it down.
Yeah, but whenever I order it, I always order it with light ice to try and make it less watered down.
You are living the coffee lifestyle in a way that I can't comprehend yet. But I'm proud.
I hope that I'm making Rory and Lorelai proud.
I think you are. In the modern day of drinking coffee.
Yes.
Starbucks.
Woo!
So, I don't have any old podcast news that's new to us, and so we're sharing it. But I do have a show that I've been watching, that I've been enjoying.
Oh, do tell.
That is old, because there are 5 seasons out. The Mindy Project, I think I mentioned it to you. Have I told you about this?
You did mention it to me, but probably not to our beautiful listeners.
Right. So, it is hilarious. And we've both read both of her books, or I'm still on her second one. So, I just thought, of course, I should watch this show because I like her, Mindy. Of course, now, Mindy Kaling. And it's really funny. I highly recommend it because she's got her professional life together, but not her personal life, and it's really funny watching her navigate it. But in she's not put down as a character for making these sometimes strange decisions, and sometimes her love life works out, sometimes it doesn't, and it's cool. It's cool watching her be the lead. She does a good job. She owns it. Anyway, so I recommend that. There are 5 seasons out, so you got plenty to watch, people.
Woo! I've watched a couple episodes. I didn't get super into it, but I do love her books. And I didn't hate the show. It just was not one that I was like, I gotta keep watching, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't grab you. Well, try it out, people. So yeah, there's my pop culture that I'm consuming right now. Hey, we should have that our pop culture minute.
Well, my pop culture minute that I know I've told you about, dear Kyla, but I have not told the beautiful listeners, is I just finished binging the show The OC. Yeah, she's doing it with her hands. OC.
OC.
And I loved it, and I think fans of Gilmore Girls will probably like it too. It's a good mix of drama and comedy, family drama. There's also a lot of pop culture references.
Okay.
And much like Gilmore Girls is focused in on the town of Stars Hollow and very location-centric, they are all set in, obviously, the OC, California. And it is very town-focused. Although the people in that town are not nearly as great as the people of Stars Hollow. It's kind of this family against the world, or at least society. A lot of class issues, which also ties in with Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I can finally say I canceled my Hulu subscription.
Yay!
Woo! It's finally gone. I don't have that bill every month.
Oh, geez.
But I found the first season at a thrift store, so.
Nice. How'd you watch the rest of them? On Hulu?
Yeah. Gotcha. When I finished the show, I canceled my Hulu subscription. And then I found that first season at a thrift store.
Nice. Well, see, but you don't typically like the high school drama type shows.
This is true. I liked it because even though it had some of that high school drama, I felt like it actually followed through on the consequences of all the ridiculous things that happen. So, like, if somebody dies, it becomes, like, a major thread for, like, the next season. Or, like, when somebody becomes an alcoholic, they actually go to rehab. Or when somebody punches somebody at school, they actually get expelled. So, like, I feel like it's a show that eats its cake and has it, too. Because it does these ridiculous high drama scenarios, like, oh my gosh, secret daughter. But then, like, everyone actually responds to how it would be like if you had a secret daughter.
Gotcha.
So,
it's not like Gossip Girl where they just buy a new outfit and it's all good.
I've not watched Gossip Girl, but my impression of the show is it's like, secret daughter, okay, moving on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, whereas that becomes a thread for like 10 episodes.
Yeah. Well, I saw seasons 2, 3, and 4 in like a secondhand movie game store today, and I was tempted to get it. I wanted to get it because I was like, I know that I want to watch this. And the whole season, they're like $5.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I thought
Get
I
it.
can pass those around. So if you give me season 1, I can buy seasons 2 and 3, and then I'm sure that more seasons will come in.
Okay. Warning, season 4 is not great. But seasons 1 through 3 are solid start to finish.
Okay. Is 4 the last season?
Yeah. 4 has moments, but
so
it's
that
rough.
would be a $15 investment by me.
Yeah.
And you lending me the first season. All right, I'll do it.
Boom. There you
Get
go.
it. Yeah, that's the way to do it, guys, by the way. Go to secondhand. Like it's called Disc Replay, the one near me. And they sell movies, whole seasons, whole series on the cheap, so.
Boom.
Look for your local one. All right, should we get this started?
Yeah. Let's kick it off with our kickoff segment.
Woo!
You're the best, you know?
The worst.
And this week, since the theme of our episode is wonderful friendships, what are our favorite and least favorite Gilmore Girls friendships?
There are many good ones, funny ones. Like, I have favorites for different reasons. So I'll go ahead and I'll just go with this one as my favorite.
Okay.
I think I would have to say Rory and Paris's, because it brings so much hilarity. And one of the many references of Casablanca that we're talking about today comes from Rory and Paris, and I thought that was one of the funnier references, which you'll hear later. But that just brought so much humor to the show that I thoroughly enjoyed. Just the fact that she followed her to Yale. Because she did follow her, because she became her roommate on purpose. Yeah, I think that's going to be my favorite. What about you?
The one that keeps coming to mind is Lorelai and Suki. I think it takes a special kind of friendship to make it through opening a business together and surviving long distance, like in A Year in the Life. So even though I'm not sure, like, I think there are some moments where, like, Suki's really stressed out with the kids and Lorelai has to pick up the slack, and then there are other times where Lorelai's got a lot going on and Suki has to be the, like, super understanding friend. But I think, like, that's exactly what friendship is. And they open a business together, and it's awesome, and they're with each other through ups and downs and relationships and babies and all the things.
And engagements and breakups and engagements and breakups.
Yeah.
Lorelai. Yeah, that one was also on my mind as well. That's one to look up to. All right, least favorite. Start us out, Taylor.
I'm thinking about it. I have a couple in my mind. You go first, and then I'll tell you mine.
You'll do the one that I don't say.
Okay, yeah.
I am going to have to go with Colin and Finn. And more so the fact that they are friends with Logan. And it's interesting because I really didn't like them I remember my first time watching through the show, but then watching through again a little bit before we started this podcast. They didn't bug me quite as much, but still. Anyways, they are just a nuisance, an annoyance. They take Logan away from Rory and make her feel really upset. They help Logan jump off of things and get super injured. And just to me, it seems like they are always at the center of Logan and Rory's conflicts. Them just being them and being there. And I don't know, like, I think that friendships are important, and when your best friend starts dating someone, like, it can be hard to understand your new dynamic, and Colin and Finn definitely did not grasp how the relationship with Logan should change after he's been dating someone for, like, a year and living together. Probably some new boundaries should be set. So yeah, they were just a nuisance to me.
You took all the words out of my mouth. Life and Death Brigade was definitely in my list, in my head, and now I don't have to be the one to rant against them, so thank you for that gift. My next runner-up would probably be Emily's DAR friends, because they're kind of the worst.
Good one.
But I think the one that I really want to say is Rory and Marty, because, like, I just feel like their whole dynamic is weird. Like, they start out as good friends, and then things get weird in season 7, when it's like, okay, they, like, agree to be friends, even though she doesn't like him, but then we never see him again until season 7.
Yeah.
It's like 2 seasons later, and then he weirdly pretends not to know her, and it, like, almost ruins her friendships with, what are their names? Lucy and Olivia, and just, like, it's all sorts of weirdness. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he just got bitter, weirdly.
Yeah, he did change. He went from weird naked guy, or to, what'd they call him, naked guy?
Yeah.
Okay, and that just made me think of on Friends, ugly naked guy.
I was just going to say that. Not ugly naked guy,
yeah,
that's Friends.
Just ugly guy. Or, I mean, just naked guy. He's not ugly.
No, Wayne Wilcox is very handsome.
Yeah, he's attractive. But yeah, that one was weird. They should have dated, but she just didn't like him that way because he wasn't mean to her. She needs on Rory.
Well,
that's that.
I ran down to the dining hall in my pajamas and bunny slippers, and of course I ran into Marty.
Naked guy.
It was totally humiliating.
Humiliating because naked guy's hot?
It was humiliating because I had terry cloth rabbits on my feet.
So naked guy's not hot?
Naked guy is Marty, and it's not like that. He's sweet.
Sweet means bad butt.
Sweet does not mean bad butt. Sweet means sweet.
Poor naked guy. Should have left his clothes on.
This episode of Gilmore Girls is episode 118, the third Lorelai. And the IMDb summary, or IMDb summary, according to Anonymous, probably not the hackers, is Lorelai's paternal grandmother arrives from England and stresses Emily out in a big way. That is a very short summary.
Yes.
She comes, she's going to give Rory a trust fund, but then she sees how much trouble it causes between Emily and Lorelai, because Emily's like, well, Rory's going to leave you because she has money. And
crazy Emily.
Trix, a.k.a. Lorelai, a.k.a. Richard's mom, is like, peace out, I'm going back to England.
No money for you.
Yeah, and she's got a weird obsession. She and Richard have a weird relationship. Not a weird obsession, just...
He's just so blind to her rudeness.
Yeah, she's a snot.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Rory convinces Tristan to ask Paris out.
Yeah.
And he does it, even though he likes Rory. And then it causes problems between Paris and Rory because...
My favorite friendship.
I know. Paris finds out that Rory asked Tristan to ask her out.
And as usual, she blew it up and got upset.
Per usual.
And then toward the end of the episode, we hear the conversation that has this reference to Casablanca. But this is definitely not the only reference to Casablanca in Gilmore Girls. In fact, didn't you find something that you took a screenshot of?
Oh, I took a number of screenshots.
Well, of the one from Netflix.
Oh, yes. They have so many references to Casablanca and Gilmore Girls that I think maybe it has something to do with the fact that if you search Casablanca on Netflix, they only have it available on DVD, which, how many people use the DVD service
I have no
for Netflix
idea
anymore? But you can only get it on DVD, so then, if that's the case, they give you recommendations of what to watch instead, and Gilmore Girls is on that list of recommendations, which I think is awesome.
That is awesome, yeah. So, here are all the Casablanca references on Gilmore Girls.
I don't ever want to leave Paris.
I know.
I don't want it to be over. I don't want it to end.
Well, it doesn't have to end. When we get back to Stars Hollow, we can sleep all day and wander the town in the middle of the night, and that stuff we did back in the hotel room, we can definitely do that back in Stars Hollow.
Are you saying we'll always have Paris?
This guy's risking everything. His job, his reputation.
Yes, well, he'll always have Paris.
We'll always have Paris.
Exactly. Well, you know, it negates determinism. Determinism is, by definition, non.
Hi. Hi, I was wondering, is the safari theme something you always do, or do you choose different themes?
May I quote next?
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by.
My brain is a wild jungle full of scary gibberish. I'm writing a letter. I can't write a letter. Why can't I write a letter? I'm wearing a green dress. I wish I was wearing my blue dress. My blue dress is at the cleaners. The Germans wore gray. You wore blue. Casablanca. Casablanca's such a good movie. Casablanca, the White House, Bush. Why don't I drive a hybrid car? I should really drive a hybrid car. I should really take my bicycle to work. Bicycle, unicycle, unitard, hockey puck, rattlesnake, monkey, underpants.
I remember every detail. The Germans wore gray. You wore blue.
Paris? Yeah, that's it.
How shocked are you?
Do you have a resuscitator?
I'm going to Yale.
Going to Yale.
And we're sweet mates.
Of all the gin joints.
Give me a hug.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
But she likes you. She's crazy about you. She thinks you're amazing.
You want me to date Paris?
Just think about it.
Me and Paris.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a wonderful friendship.
Who's Louis?
Just think.
10,000 francs should pay our expenses. Our expenses?
Mm-hmm.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
That is seasons 1 through 7, baby.
Wow. Good
Seasons
job finding all
1
those, Taylor, our lead
through 7.
investigator.
Well, I really hope that's all of them. I did everything I could. There's this awesome website called Crazy Internet People, and they have transcripts of all the Gilmore Girls scripts.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did a site search for anything remotely related to Casablanca, and that's what I found.
Good work. The last one you heard is the one we're talking about. So, Taylor, what did you think when you heard that little nod to Casablanca?
Well, I had seen Casablanca before I watched Gilmore Girls for the first time. I will say I'm not sure I picked up on all the references to Casablanca. Like, when the Germans wore gray, you wore blue. I don't think I picked up on that the first time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's some really subtle ones in there. And granted, there are other ones where they're like, we're watching Casablanca. So I knew that. So I think I probably picked up on Louis, this is the beginning of a wonderful friendship, which is actually a misquote of the movie.
Yeah.
Because in the movie they say beautiful friendship.
Oh,
so
what do they say?
Wonderful friendship.
Oh, Rory. Come on.
Yeah.
Get it together.
So I think I did know this one, but I definitely did not pick up on all the Casablanca references the first time I watched Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it, so I had no idea. what she meant by that. So I was just as clueless as Tristan. I was Tristan. I'm sure many people were Tristan. Hashtag we're all Tristan.
Hashtag we're all Tristan. That's the official hashtag for this episode.
That is. So, this movie, Casablanca, a classic, beloved by all, is set in Morocco.
Yay, the neighboring country of Ishtar!
Woo-hoo! Staying in Morocco a couple episodes.
Yeah!
I wish I knew some, like, Moroccan culture I could throw out there, but I don't.
No.
But, Morocco. So, it's set in World War II. The Nazis have invaded everywhere! Oh, no! And people, from what I understood, which when they first explained this in the beginning of the movie, I was like, wait, what? But then, as you saw people living it out, you understood it more. But basically, people are trying to get out of France for the most part. That's occupied by Germany and lots of other places. And they're going through Morocco, through the city of Casablanca, to try to get to America, but it's hard to get a visa to get to America. So basically people are just like waiting in this city to get a visa so they can move on. And so it's just a bunch of people stuck. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's kind of like a purgatory. Like they're not in Germany occupied France anymore, but they're also still in the presence of the Nazis. Mm-hmm. So you kind of never know if you're safe or not, and you don't know how long you're going to be there.
Yeah. I was surprised by how nicely some people were dressed, because I was thinking, you're all refugees. How do you have all your nice clothing? But, I guess they're coming from Europe. It's, they're not coming from a place that's typically impoverished.
Yeah, well, and I feel like people just dressed nicer back then.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that.
But it's all about Humphrey Bogart, who owns this little, what's it called? Rick's Cafe Americana.
Yes, Americane. It's a bar and casino.
It's everything you need. They got live music, they have drinks, they got food, I think.
They got gambling.
What up?
They've got Nazis.
Woo!
Oh boy.
Beautiful.
I didn't realize that our discussion of Nazism was going to be quite so relevant.
Yeah.
I would like to say our perspective, I think I can speak for you, Kyla, our perspective on Nazis is the same as in this movie. They are bad.
Yep. Steer clear of them. And the only reason I laugh when talking about this is because so many movies are about Nazi Germany, that time period. So it's just kind of like, who's the bad guy in this movie? Let's make it Hitler. It's
so easy.
Yes, when it comes to film and TV, that tends to be a easy villain to pick back up. So, yes.
There's not much gray area there.
No, yeah,
the Germans were gray, but there was not a gray area.
Ew. Yeah, so again, we definitely agree with this movie. No gray area. Nazis bad.
I don't know why we have to say that, but we do.
Don't be a Nazi. Yay. Okay. So Nazis are there, and it is a strange dynamic, because you have like these Nazi soldiers coming into Rick's Cafe Americane, where everybody's trying to get away from the Nazis. And I didn't even fully grasp that either. Like, they're trying to get away from you people, but you're all, like, having drinks together in this purgatory.
Well, and that's also because of the French Vichy government, where, at the time, France was being occupied and cooperating with Germany. So, I think technically, the French in this movie were not technically enemies of the Nazis, because they were cooperating. But obviously, some of the citizens themselves don't necessarily want to be cooperating.
Yeah. Rick's just doing his own thing, not drinking with any of the guests and hiding away in his office and house above Rick's.
And very clearly telling people he doesn't take sides, he just works for the highest bidder.
Exactly. He works for himself, no one else.
But then...
His
former love. I don't know why it came out that way. His former love, Ilsa Lund, played by Ingrid Bergman, shows up, and he has not seen her, as we come to learn, since they had fallen in love in Paris, and then they were going to escape together, and then she didn't show up to the train station where they were going to leave together. And she is there with someone who is her husband, that he had never heard of before, played by Paul Henreid, if I said that correctly.
Probably not.
Well, we know how great my pronunciation is.
Per you.
And the two of them are trying to get out of Casablanca, and they know that Rick has some papers, but he keeps saying he doesn't. But they're telling him, please give us the papers, we need to get out, because her husband, Victor Laszlo, is someone who has done a lot to subvert the Nazis all around Europe, and he is wanted by them.
I'm wanted, dead or alive, dead or imprisoned.
Whoa. Did John Bon Jovi just show up?
Hey there. How you doing?
Wait, Joey Tribbiani? Where'd you come from?
We're all here. And she, in the end, decides that she does love Humphrey Bogart, would rather be with him. But Humphrey Bogart chooses a side, or Rick, I should say. Rick chooses a side and decides that the cause of not Nazis, the opposite of Nazis, which is
the Allies,
that the people who they're imprisoning should win out. So he decided it was more important for Ilsa to go with her husband because he needs her support. She is who he lives for, or something like that.
And he says, which I think is a very self-aware realization, he says, right now you might want to stay with me, but I know in the long run you're more devoted to him and you're going to wish you had gone.
Mm.
And she doesn't fight him on it.
Yeah. So, were they more in lust than in love?
I think it was love, but I think because of, I think her love for Victor won out. Because especially when they first got together in Paris, he never knew about Victor and she thought Victor was dead.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like she was deliberately cheating on him.
Right. Those were scary times. I'm glad that I wasn't a part of that.
Yeah. And Rick shoots a Nazi commander in Morocco, and then he and Louis,
here he comes in.
He helps Rick, and he says, I think this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
End scene.
Yes.
So that was Casablanca.
As told by us.
As told by us. Da-da. Which, you know, after watching Citizen Kane and now watching this, two of the, like, older classics that we've watched, it's funny because I had no idea what to expect. I think I imagined that they were on some sort of island, like, faraway place.
Mm-hmm.
That was it, and that there were two men she could choose between. But then I get into this, like, World War II, they're in this city trying to get visas. It's just, I'm always surprised by, like, the world that I enter into when I watch these old movies. Because Citizen Kane, it was the same thing. I was like, I had no idea what it was about. I thought it was, you know, set in more modern time, and that it starred that one cowboy actor. What's his name?
Clint Eastwood again?
Clint Eastwood. No, just Citizen Kane.
Okay. I was like, you thought Clint Eastwood was in this one too?
No, I knew this one was black and white. But, you know, and then suddenly it's this, newspaper tycoon who we're doing flashbacks. And so it's just, it's exciting to watch these old movies that we know nothing about because we don't see the trailers playing, you know, on TV and in the movie theater. Mm-hmm. And so we just get to see it, watch it, and have no idea what's going to happen. So I like doing that.
Yay.
Did you like this film / do you like this film?
Yes, I like this movie a lot. This was my second time watching it, and it was I enjoyed watching it again. I think this is one, partly because it's a little more inspirational. I would definitely watch this more often than Citizen Kane. I get the artistry of the filmmaking behind Citizen Kane and why it's such a huge deal, but I do think the storytelling is good there too, but I just love the storytelling in Casablanca. I think it's so powerful, and we can get more into this as we go, but I think it is just so amazing to me that this movie was made and released in 1942, mid-war, and it still feels like its perspective on the war and on Nazis, and it didn't change after the war. It was just so forward thinking and so had so much conviction in what it was saying that we can watch it and still feel the same things that they did in the movie. So I'm sure my perspective watching Casablanca is different than somebody who lived through the war, or who fought in the war, or even was born right after the war and knew people there. So, I'm sure I'm not watching it the same way, but I feel like you can walk away with the same emotions that the people who saw it in the 1940s did. And, that's, crazy good storytelling to me.
Yeah. Watching it, especially since it was my first time, well, it felt like it went by really quickly. I was just
yeah, it's short.
Done. Yeah, it's quick. I want to watch it again, though, because I think I'll be able to appreciate Humphrey Bogart's character development and the woman's relationship with these two men a little more, just kind of seeing it again, and I'm sure I just kind of missed some of the subtleties in it. But yeah, I liked it.
That's funny you say that, because that's exactly what Roger Ebert said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was
tell me more.
No matter how many times I see this movie, I never get tired of it, and because some of those scenes are stronger after you've seen the movie already, because you have the context that you learn later in the film. So he was saying the more times you watch the movie, the richer it gets, which isn't always true for some movies.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, Roger Ebert, you and I think a lot alike.
Oh, yeah.
Who does he write for? Or who did he write for, I suppose?
Roger Ebert, so you can find all his reviews on rogerebert.com. He and, I actually don't know, Richard Roper? They were known as Ebert and Roper. So they were known, they had a TV show. If you ever hear people say 2 thumbs up for a movie, that's because they would each give a thumb up or a thumb down when they talked about movies. And so a movie was good if they gave 2 thumbs up. I think he also wrote for the Chicago Sun-Times. He was just one of the most influential critics of the 20th and beginning of 21st century. So I look to him a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
I think we saw some of the new 20s in Atlantic City, didn't we, Emily?
I think. How was Atlantic City? Successful?
Very.
Well, Siskel's chimed in. What about you?
I'm refraining.
It's a bit of a sore subject.
We'll talk about something else.
The garishness. The garishness.
Thus spake Ebert.
Why have a simple sign if it can be in bright, flashing neon?
Can I read you a list of all these awards that this movie has?
Yes.
For some reason, I love listing lots of awards for things, because this movie's a big deal, and I feel like we just need to understand the magnitude of how big a deal. It's part of the cultural lexicon. But did you know it won Best Picture, Best Writing, and Best Director at the Oscars?
Wow.
And it was nominated for 5 additional Oscars. Did you know the Writers Guild of America says it is the #1 screenplay of all time? Oh. And that in 1989, the Library of Congress selected this movie to go into its national registry to be preserved forever. Yes.
That's beautiful.
And, side note, that's the same year they picked Citizen Kane to go into their national registry.
Oh, okay.
So we're on to something here. And in 2006, the British Parliament voted Casablanca as their most favorite movie of all time. I don't know why they needed to have a vote on that.
Oh, thank you, British Parliament.
I don't know why that was on the docket, but it
Simpler
was.
Simpler times.
And the American Film Institute is kind of obsessed with this movie. Are you ready for this?
Go
Number
for it.
3 movie all time. Number 32 on their list of most inspiring movies. It has the number 2 greatest movie song, As Time Goes By. The number 4 greatest hero, Rick Blaine. It's the number 1 greatest love story. It's the number 37 most thrilling movie. I don't know why they have all these subcategories. Humphrey Bogart is the #1 greatest American screen legend for actor, and Ingrid Bergman, #4 for actress. Wow. And on their list of top 100 movie quotes, they have 6. Count them, 6. And almost all of them are in Gilmore Girls. Here's Looking at You, Kid. Louie, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Play it, Sam, play as time goes by. Round up the usual suspects. We'll always have Paris. And of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. And that is the exhaustive list of
Casablanca!
Many, many recognitions and awards this movie has received. There are others, but those were the most significant ones I could find.
That is quite a hefty list.
Mm-hmm.
Go Casablanca.
Whew, I need to take a drink after that one.
Get that coffee.
Yes.
That's really impressive. Thank you for that.
You are so welcome. Thank you, Casablanca, for doing all those things.
Thank you.
Jack Benny sponsors another best to Jack Warner for producing Casablanca.
The production of Casablanca was a little bit crazy because, like I said, it was made during wartime about the war.
I did not know that. I wish I would have known that watching it because that just gives me like a whole new perspective on how forward this movie was.
Yeah. Isn't that's just what's amazing to me about it. And it definitely does give you a different perspective. And let me tell you, this is another thing that I think will give you a different perspective. I did a bunch of research on our favorite Turner Classic Movies.
What up?
So almost everything I'm going to share from now on is from Turner Classic Movies.
Thank you.
So I didn't know this before either time I watched it, but 2 people involved in the film had escaped concentration camps.
Oh my.
And there was another person that had escaped the German occupation of France. And in this film, there are people of 34 nationalities who acted in the film, and many of them were refugees. So a lot of the people behind screen and in front of the screen were very affected by the war. I mean, everybody was affected by the war, but some of these people were, it was really up close and personal for them.
Right.
And so some of the actors, Conrad Veidt, he played the Nazi officer that's kind of in charge and gets shot at the end. And Paul Henreid, which I'm probably not saying right, he was the husband, Victor. They were actually best friends in real life. And Veidt had helped Henreid escape to America. Henreid was an Austrian refugee, and he almost got stuck in Britain, and Veidt helped him get out of there. And then when Veidt escaped Nazi Germany, he basically made it his mission to portray Nazis as bad people. So, that was his goal in the movies and in his acting, was to show how bad the Nazis were. Wow. Kind of like that actor in House of Horrors who played Marcel. He was known for playing Nazis as bad guys. He didn't in House of Horrors, but he did in other movies because he had escaped Nazi Germany.
Wow. That's really cool.
So there are a lot of people with really deep personal connections to the war. And the film had to open sooner because they were trying to take advantage of the headlines that were happening in the war. Because they were trying to make sure the movie wasn't dated by the time it came out based on what the Allies were doing and the progress of the war. That's a lot of
pressure.
Yeah, so, and they apparently made it on a pretty small budget, didn't think this movie was going to be a huge deal. They had a lot of famous people in it, but they didn't really think this movie was going to be anything special. And so Casablanca had been in the news, and they decided to open it sooner, Thanksgiving Day in New York. And the French flag, Free French flag, was unfurled for the first time in the United States since the fall of Vichy for this movie. And, side note for us, fun fact, it was advertised with an Errol Flynn movie, Gentleman Jim. I know, all sorts of connections for us.
Yeah.
And when this movie came out, it was banned in Germany. Go figure. Because it was considered anti-Nazi propaganda, which checks out. Mm-hmm. And then after the war, they finally released it in Germany, but they had to cut 20 minutes of it, and they changed, like, dubbed some things differently. So Victor was no longer a Nazi fighter, for lack of a better phrase. He was an atomic physicist.
So what was he doing there?
Who knows?
That's hysterical because Germany kicked out so many smart people that then came over to the U.S. and, like, Einstein helped us create the atom bomb. So the fact that he's, like, a physicist, you know, from Germany is also, it doesn't add up.
No. So there's that weird thing, and
That's
I guess
funny.
Even though they'd lost the war, they didn't want to portray Nazis in a bad light still? I don't know.
Just, I guess, still a little touchy.
For sure. My dad and I, actually, we finished Band of Brothers, the HBO miniseries, this afternoon. It's a 10-episode miniseries, and they've been following this same company of American troops all through the war. Starting with D-Day, and it goes all the way to when Japan surrenders. And in the second to last episode, they discover a concentration camp. And part of the problem is all the locals in this town are going, oh, we don't know anything about it. Like, we don't think it's a big deal. But then the Allied troops, they knew about it and just ignored it and pretended like nothing was happening. And so they make them bury the dead bodies of people in the concentration camp. They make all the townspeople come in and just, like, own up to the fact of what happened while they were around and did nothing.
Wow. Well, and, you know, you mentioned that some of the actors and people involved with Casablanca, the movie, that some of them escaped from concentration camps. And I thought I remembered in the movie one point where the character Victor, when Victor mentions that he was in a concentration camp, and I thought he mentioned it in front of an officer, and I could be wrong, but I just remember thinking that was very strange because Germany wasn't admitting to these concentration camps. So for him to try to talk and to reference that when they're still denying it, that conversation probably would have got cut really short. So he does mention being in a concentration camp several times, but they don't fully explain what that was, like what that meant, what happened to him in the concentration camp. And maybe it's because we didn't actually fully know at the time even.
Yeah. Well, actually, in this Band of Brothers episode, you see this guy running, and he goes to the guy in charge, and he's like, we found something, and we don't even know what it is. So then they drive out to there, and they have this one Allied soldier who can speak German try and talk to one of the Jewish men there about what this place is and why they're there, because they're so confused. Like, they don't know what this is. And so I was saying to my dad, I can't imagine what it would be like to walk into one of these death camps unprepared. Because, like, today, you and I grew up in school learning about them, and we know the horrors of what happened there. Not personally, but we're told. But for them to walk into it and have no clue what they were going to see, I cannot even imagine what that was like.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen the Netflix documentary 5 Came Back. It's about Hollywood filmmakers who went overseas to film the war, and some who created propaganda at home. But one of them, you know, they were mostly documenting and just following these soldiers to see what was going on. And then they ended up at a concentration camp. And he said he realized as soon as they got there, he was no longer documenting. He was taking video to use as evidence in war crimes. And it was like all of a sudden, he was like, we need to document everything.
Yeah.
Even though it's difficult and hard, like, he said his perspective changed.
No, I'll have to watch that.
It's super interesting.
Like we mentioned last week, we like documentaries.
Yes. Yes, we did.
About Ishtar and about war crimes.
Very different.
There's a whole spectrum of documentaries.
Yeah, but this one is super good.
Okay,
so
I'll check it out.
Yeah. And knowing, too, that Veidt, who played this Nazi criminal, fled with his wife from Germany in 1933 because his wife was Jewish. Like,
how could the production staff not know that this movie was going to be a big deal with, like, a backstory like that? Like, we have, like, actual refugees who are in this movie, but it's not going to be a big deal.
I guess you can't always guess how the public will respond, but that's a great question, because I think that backstory makes it even more powerful. And also, in the production, so at the end of the movie, of course, she gets on the plane. And this is so funny from TCM. One question that has always troubled some Casablanca fanatics is this one. This is a question that's apparently troubled Casablanca fanatics.
Oh,
why are there not more shots of the airplane to Lisbon? Apparently that bothers them. But the reason is because wartime security measures prohibited the use of high-powered lights outdoors because of, the blackouts and how they would need to get all the lights down. They were not allowed to do that. So they had to have, it says, countless requests, meetings, and probably bribes to cut through the red tape to properly illuminate the plane for the camera.
Interesting.
And that was just for those few shots. But apparently
at the very end?
Yeah. Apparently wartime regulations made it hard to film that famous plane scene.
Interesting. I didn't think about that. I did think it was a little strange, like, okay, that plane is still circling the runway, okay. Like, you need to go, get off, go. As the Nazi soldier was trying to get him to stop, and I was like, get off the ground, but I guess maybe that's why, too, because they needed a little bit more time, because they couldn't get it going very high up in the air. Interesting. I didn't think about that. But you know what that makes me think of?
What?
Makes me think of, which, if you haven't seen all of Friends, I'm going to spoil it, the last episode of, did she get off the plane? She got off the plane! Oh, man, I get goosebumps.
This plane doesn't even have a phalange.
Oh, man. But I wonder if that's a little bit of a nod to it, if they got that from Casablanca, because she's gotten on the plane. She's going to go away from Ross. But then she's
going to go to Paris.
And she's going to go to Paris. I think that's a nod to Casablanca. Ooh, I've got goosebumps.
Maybe. Hey, by the way, I want you to know, because we have now spoiled the end of Friends and the end of Casablanca, according to the New York Times, we have committed the rankest sabotage.
What does that come from?
Their review of Casablanca, they said, don't worry, we won't tell you how it all comes out. That would be rankest sabotage.
Oh my gosh.
Your favorite word, sabotage.
It's sabotage, yes! Oh, yeah, sorry guys. We'll put it in our episode notes. We warned you.
I know, we said it before we did it, too.
Yeah, you just have to read the episode notes before you listen, I guess.
Just be warned, you might get spoilers.
You might. But Taylor, did you know that Ilsa getting on... Ilsa, I think? Ilsa. Not Elsa. Ilsa getting on the plane was just one of 2 options for endings that they were working on.
Tell me more.
So watched a little interview with Ingrid Bergman. I think... didn't say the year that it was filmed in, but it looked like 70s, something like that. It was on CBC, and she talked about that during the filming of the movie, they hadn't chosen who she was going to end up with. And so she said, okay, but how am I supposed to show in my character, like, who I love more if you don't even know who I'm going to end up with? And they were like, they told her, just play it cool, like, just don't, like, totally commit to either one of them. Kind of show them both your love. And so she was like, okay. And so then at the end, they told her that they were going to shoot 2 endings for the movie. One with her getting on the plane, and one with her not. And this is what ended up happening.
And then, in the end, they said, we're going to shoot it both ways. And when we came to the end, the first ending was that I went away with my husband in the plane and flew off, and they said, this is it. We don't have to do the second ending because this is just fine.
Well, then this conflicts a little bit with something I heard that in 1987, a specially re-edited version showed the ending where she did not get on the plane. But I wonder how they did that then.
How would they have done that? Were able to find that video?
No, I have not seen the video. This was on Turner Classic Movies. Now I wonder if maybe they somehow re-edited the ending on their own.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. I mean, and they could have used, I'm sure
I'm going to trust Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah.
She would know.
I'm sure that they had plenty of misguided footage that they did end up using that they were able to kind of piece together. Yeah, but I thought that was interesting. But then the interviewer asked her, well, what do you think would have been the better ending? And she says, in a very girlish way, oh, I wish I would have liked to have stayed with Humphrey Bogart. But that wasn't for the movie. That was just her own little crush, I sensed. And she said the same thing that you did, that they did not know it was going to be a big deal when they were filming. And it was. And it is.
I know. It's won all those awards. I do wonder if part of the reason they didn't think it was going to be a big deal is it was based off of an unproduced play that apparently had been circulating at Warner Brothers. They'd optioned it a while back. And they just didn't... The play was called Everybody Comes to Rick's. It was never produced. They didn't think it was a big deal. And it says, of course, according to Turner Classic Movies, 6 writers transformed the play into Casablanca, which is a lot. Especially for good movies, it's usually better to have fewer writers. Because you don't have tons of people with their hands in trying to give their own flair.
Right.
So the producers optioned the play in 1940, but then they couldn't get a good script. And so then the authors, brought it around Hollywood, trying to get somebody else to buy it. And so Warner Brothers got it in late 1941. And then it was just, stuck in somebody's office. Nothing happened with it for a while. And then Irene Lee, who was the West Coast story editor, what a great title, she stopped in to rummage through the piles of manuscripts in this office, and she found this kind of beat-up copy of Everybody Comes to Rick's. And she got it, wrote an outline. She gave it to producer Hal Wallace just 4 days after Pearl Harbor. So this was super short production, less than a year, because it came out Thanksgiving Day in 1942, and this was December 11th, 1941.
Wow.
Super fast.
That does not happen nowadays.
Yeah, I know. Especially a movie like Wartime, they'd be like, we need all the special effects of World War II, and So they got people involved. These guys called the Epstein brothers were some of the writers. And they got one, Howard Koch, whom you might know. He wrote the script for the Orson Welles broadcast of War of the Worlds that made everybody think the Martians were invading.
People.
Yeah, and so these people, put the script together, and then nobody thought it was a big deal. And then they wrote a script that, according to The Guardian, is as quotable as Hamlet.
It really is. As I was watching it, I took down all these quotes, and at first I was writing them down. I was like, oh, these are so great. And then I thought, probably these are quotes that everyone else has caught on are cool quotes, and I am not the first.
So, what are the ones you wrote down?
Well, of all the gin joints and all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Here's looking at you, kid. Even though I wrote it down mostly because I knew that I had heard it before. Heard people say it, and I was like, oh, this is where it originated.
Yeah.
And one that I didn't see I didn't see when doing some research, but that I liked was when Rick says to Ilsa, I wouldn't believe you no matter what you told me. You'd say anything now to get what you want. That was a good one. Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor. Because I know that I've seen that scene in Gilmore Girls or in somewhere where Casablanca is playing. And then You'll regret it. Maybe not today and maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life. And then we'll always have Paris, and I think I knew that one from Gilmore Girls.
Because they use that one twice.
Yeah, they do. There are just some good ones, but I think a lot of it, in part, is because I've heard them from the movie, but I still agree. Very quotable. Like they are little gems.
Okay, and also the cool thing about most of those quotes, a lot of them were improvised, and a lot of them...
What?
Like, came up with at the last minute. So can I tell you some of the crazy stories behind exactly some of the ones you just listed?
Yes, please.
So that speech where he's saying, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, that he says to Ilsa at the very end of the movie, was allegedly written on the hood of a car at the studio. And they say that the Epstein brothers came up with the famous line, round up the usual suspects, that happened right after that, while driving to the studio to shoot the scene.
Wow. And that is something I hear people say all the time. Round up usual suspects. I didn't know it was from this movie.
And the movie The Usual Suspects, also from this. And Here's You Looking at You, Kid, was originally written as Here's Good Luck to You.
Yeah.
And apparently Humphrey Bogart came up with that one. Here's Looking at You, Kid. He's the probable author of that one. And then Of All the Gin Joints quote was originally written of all the cafes in all the towns in the world. And apparently Bogart restructured that one too, of all the gin joints. So that's another Bogart-ism.
Mm-hmm.
And then our famous line, Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, was written by the producer, Hal Wallace. And it was actually written after they finished filming because their backs are to the camera, and so they could add audio. And so here were some of the other ones they were throwing around for this final line. Louis, I begin to see a reason for your sudden attack of patriotism. While you defend your country, you also protect your investment.
No, too much.
Okay, here's another one. If you ever die a hero's death, heaven protect the angels.
Okay.
A little sappy, I think, but it's better than the last one.
Yes.
And then here was the third option. Louis, I might have known you'd mix your patriotism with a little larceny. I kind of like that one.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. It's
not
spicy.
as the same rhythm, but I like the big idea.
Yeah. Huh. More alternate endings.
I know, yeah. And there was another talk of a possible ending where you see Bogart and Raines, the not Nazi officer, and Rick, they're on taking the war to Hitler's front doorstep. But apparently audiences liked the one that ended with them walking off into the fog together, so they just cut it off there.
Yeah. Wait, they were going to do what?
They were going to show them on a boat trying to... It says, taking the war to Hitler's front doorstep.
Yes.
On a battleship.
See, that wouldn't have worked because Rick started out this movie not caring which side. And he showed a little bit of caring toward the Allies' side when he sent Ilsa on the plane. But, like, for him to then go get on a warship, that would have been, like, way too much.
Yeah.
Too far.
And I feel like he's already completed his emotional and character arc when he sends Ilsa away and shoots the Major Strausser.
Yeah.
Not necessary. So good editing.
No. Good job, editors.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know? Because that's apparently how we're starting everything. That there is also another alternate ending that just surfaced recently.
What? I did not know this.
Well, you want to take a listen?
Yes.
Good evening. I am Reese DeWitt.
Yes! I love this.
To Cinema Classics.
I love this
Tonight,
one.
We look at the recently unearthed alternate ending to the 1942 classic Casablanca.
Here you go, Louis. These are the exit visas. And if you don't mind, why don't you fill in the names? That'll make it seem more official.
Certainly, Rick. You think of everything, don't you?
And the names are Mr. and Mrs. Victor Laszlo.
But why my name, Richard?
Because you're getting on that plane.
I don't understand, Richard. What about you?
I'm going to stay here with him until the plane gets safely away.
Oh, no, Richard, no. No, Richard. No, Richard, no. Last night you said we'd be together forever.
Last night we said a great many things, and it all boils down to this. You're getting on that plane where you belong.
Oh, Richard, no. Please, not without you, no. I'd face any danger to be with you.
Listen to me.
No.
You know what waits for you if you stay here? 9 chances out of 10 you'll wind up in a concentration camp.
Concentration camp? I'll wave at you through one of the little windows. It'll be our thing. Okay.
Ilsa, look at me. We'll always have Paris.
Oh, Paris. Paris is the best. That's just such a cool place. Oh, look! The staircase just plopped out of the plane, and that's where my little feet need to go.
Who knew? Secret alternative ending where basically it doesn't change much. She just doesn't care as much that she's leaving Rick. But
she realizes what a bad deal a concentration
yeah,
camp would be.
I don't want to do that. So there's that little nugget.
Whoop, whoop.
People don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world.
Beans are crazy, the crazy beans.
Someday you'll understand that.
Yes.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Oh, Rick. Bye!
So one more fun story, or fun question mark story, depending on how you look at it. Some people are wondering, in the 1980s, would Casablanca still be made today? So a journalist submitted the script for Casablanca to agencies under a different title. And less than half the people who read it at the agencies recognized it. And even fewer were interested in it.
Wow.
So, in 1982, an issue of Film Comment talked about, like, the big idea was, how do people recognize a work of greatness? And he actually called it Everybody Comes to Rick's when he submitted it to
That's
people.
Awesome.
He changed the name of the piano player, Sam, to make it less recognizable. He gave it to 217 Hollywood agencies.
Wow.
4 people, 4 agencies offered to represent him with that script.
Wow.
So, and that was after only 85 of them read it, and only 33 recognized it as Casablanca.
Interesting.
Which is crazy. And one person who offered to represent him said, this would be good for TV.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
A lot of people turned it down, and one of the notes was, I think the dialogue could have been sharper, and the plot had a tendency to ramble. And one person said, too much dialogue, not enough exposition, the storyline was weak, and in general, it didn't hold their interest.
Wow.
So, basically, this writer for Film Comment basically said, this movie would not get made today.
And, you know, the movie-making process changes with new generations. And, well, just like, you know, even Citizen Kane, such a long, like, a bunch of flashbacks. I get why, like, some of those movies wouldn't be made today, but they were made when they were supposed to be made, and we can still appreciate them, though.
Yeah.
But that's interesting take on that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's better or worse that it wouldn't be made today. Or in the 1980s when this experiment was done.
I don't think it changes anything. It's just, you know, it was made in the time that it was and for a reason. You know, I mean, it's the fact that the war was going on and there was so much more to it than if it was made nowadays.
Well, and think of all the crazy things that had to align for that movie to work out when it did. Like, those people had to have escaped concentration camps. And they had to have those refugees, and they had to have gotten clearance to film some of those outdoor scenes. And just all these crazy things that we needed to happen to make the movie that it ended up being.
And the thing is that people, like viewers, are still watching that movie, loving it. Filmmakers look to those old films for inspiration. And I actually watched an interview with, I don't mind ever bring this up, La La Land director Damien Chazelle, and they were asking him, like, your favorite movie, favorite scene in a movie, and they asked him what his favorite song in a movie was, and he said, As Time Goes By in Casablanca.
Play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
I don't know what you mean, Miss Elsa.
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by. Sing it, Sam.
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss.
Classic.
Classic.
Also featured in Gilmore Girls.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
In the first episode that Rory experiences the Life and Death Brigade, she goes with them on that crazy jump. The night before they're all hanging out on their fake safari. That is one of the songs playing in the background. It's the version made famous by Sinatra. But this is the movie that made that song a big deal.
No matter what the future brings, as time goes by.
Sam, I thought I told you never to play.
So, Taylor, after all this, please explain that reference to me. Because I actually don't fully get it, why she said that to Logan in that moment. Do you?
You mean Tristan?
To Tristan.
But honestly, they're not that hard to mix up. They're kind of the same person.
Hey. Alright.
Okay, no, Logan is actually better than Tristan. That's a great question. I think it's because in the context of Casablanca, Rick and, oh my gosh, what is his name in the movie? I always forget. It's played by Claude Rains. Captain Louis. Oh yeah, because Louis, it's the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You okay there?
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so Rick and Louie, the guy who is mentioned in the quote of this episode title and that we're talking about this whole episode. Rick and Louie is an unexpected friendship, and they come, I think it's because they come together because they find a common cause to fight Nazi Germany. And in this moment, Rory and Tristan are an unlikely friendship come together to help Tristan get over his heartbreak and get him with Paris, which is a lot less significant in this hill of beans.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I kind of thought that Rick and that officer were always kind of friendly.
Yeah, same. But I
see what you mean. They weren't enemies, but they certainly didn't have any allegiance to one another.
And, like, now it's a partnership.
Right, right.
Because Rick just killed a guy, and Louis covered for him.
And Louis is saying that he's going to get him out of Casablanca. And by the way, I'm coming with you. So basically, we're going to be best friends.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Unexpected. All right, I understand it now.
Cool.
And I think watching the whole movie through helps with that, too, because seeing even the fact that Rick said it to Louis instead of Louis saying it to Rick, because Rick just, like, had loyalty to no one. And so the fact that he is saying, think we're going to be friends now, is significant, seeing how he acts in the entire movie.
And it's probably more significant that Rory says it to Tristan than the other way around.
Yes, because Tristan wanted Rory, and Rory did not want him.
Yeah. So how about some of these other Casablanca references in the other episodes?
Oh, yeah, let me look at those.
We talked a little bit about 402, when Paris follows Rory to Yale, and Rory says, of all the gin joints.
Yes, I love that. That one's
she's
perfect.
So shocked.
That one's perfect, because they were not supposed to be together. That helps, because I don't even remember her saying that. And then the other ones are more just shocking that people haven't seen it, and now I will be shocked whenever someone says they haven't seen Casablanca. Now I can be like Lorelai.
I think one of my favorites of these others is episode 405. The title of the episode is The Fundamental Things Apply, which is a lyric from As Time Goes By.
Oh, okay.
And that's when Lorelai and Luke watch Casablanca together. And because he's like, I've never seen movies, and she gets him to come over for a classic movie night.
Right.
And it's kind of a good first unofficial date for the two of them.
Yeah, it was like a first hangout.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it took them a long time to hang out. It takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love the one from episode 410. Talking about Paris and her professor boyfriend. And that Rory and Lorelai talking about he's risking his job, his reputation. And then Lorelai, yes, well, he'll always have Paris. How long have you been waiting with that one? That's awesome. I love it. Perfect.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, this definitely gives me more context because I had heard that we'll always have Paris, but I just kind of thought it was from like either Casablanca or the movie where they're going to meet at the Empire State Building.
An Affair to Remember?
An Affair to Remember. I thought it could be that one. I didn't know.
We're going to have to find an excuse to watch that one for the podcast because I think you'll like it.
Yeah, I want to see it. I should watch it. And then they say that one again. And again, I understand it when she's talking to Christopher.
In Paris.
In Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Unavoidable.
And, okay, so I just thought of this while we were recording.
Mm-hmm.
So, in 704, when Christopher and Lorelai are together, and it's still kind of new and fresh after her breakup with Luke, they're talking about how they went to go see a bunch of terrible movies together.
Relentless snakes on a plane, snakes on a plane.
This was our 5th bad movie in a row. It's got to be some kind of record.
We gotta face facts. Movies have gotten bad.
Unless it's our fault.
What? No, we didn't make the bad movies.
No, we made the movies bad. Think about it. We are the common factor.
Ooh.
All the movies, very different.
And they keep saying, like, oh, that movie was bad, that movie was bad. And you know what the common factor was? Us. We went to go see all of them. And then...
Huh? We can never see Casablanca together. I mean, I'm very sorry. I don't care how much I love it, but I will not be responsible for ruining Casablanca.
And I'm kind of thinking Casablanca is maybe Lorelai's favorite movie.
Yeah.
After all this. But she's like, I don't want that movie ruined. And I wonder if there's something significant about how she watched it with Luke. She doesn't want to watch it with Chris. And so think about it this way, too. In Casablanca, Ilsa is with Victor. Then she thinks he dies, so she goes with Rick. But then she ultimately goes back to Victor, because that's, like, the love of her life.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick's a nice, like, a good guy. She's really in love with him. But it's, like, not the right match. In Gilmore Girls, Lorelai is with Luke, and then it seems like things are kaput. There's no way they can make it work. So they break up. She gets together with Christopher. She really loves him. They get married, but it's not the right fit. And she goes back to Luke.
Yeah.
So maybe Luke is her Victor, and Chris is her Humphrey Bogart Rick.
See, but the only problem I have with that is that aren't you supposed to want her to be with Humphrey Bogart?
Yeah, but we also know that she'll never be happy if she stays.
Yeah.
And she says to Chris, I want to want you.
You're the man I want to want. Oh.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it's never going to work.
Her love story, her love life is Casablanca. And I think that is interesting, the point that you made that she watches it with Luke, won't watch it with Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if she thinks, of course, they were joking around, but if she thinks the movie wasn't ruined when I watched it with Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, the last mention of Casablanca, the best one. The Lorelai's rant. Classic. Which I never got. Yeah, the Germans wore gray, you wore blue. I don't even remember that part of it. All I remember is monkey underpants.
Well, and that rant comes when she's talking about Luke and trying to write that letter for him.
It's true.
So he has custody of April. One of the not as great storylines of season 7.
But at least we got this quote.
That ends in monkey, monkey, underpants.
Perfect. Now I understand all those.
Boom.
So, Taylor.
So, Kyla.
Is that our show?
Is that our show? I think it is.
That's our show!
Woo!
Down, 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 down.
I know this is a podcast, and it doesn't matter what we wear, but we should have worn blue. The Germans wore gray. We wore blue.
I got some blue on my shirt underneath the palm trees.
Maybe we can tell everybody that we wore blue.
Hey, everyone, we wore blue. You better not be wearing gray.
And you'll never know if we're lying to you.
Oh, yes,
they can't see
right.
us.
I thought that was like another quote from the movie.
Oh, no, not at all.
Where did that come in? Oh, man. So, we think we got all the references of Casablanca and Gilmore Girls. If we didn't, please tweet us out some screenshots, because...
Yes, please do.
We want to see them all.
I tried so hard. I looked for Here's Looking at You, Kid, but I could not find it, even though Lorelai calls Rory Kid all the time. Mm-hmm. But I did not find it. And so tweet them at us, at SoIt'sAShow. Or email them to us, at soitsashow@gmail.com.
Do it. And talk to, if you found one that Taylor, who did the investigation, did not find, and you want to put all the blame on her, you can tweet at her at tblake24.
OMG. Or, if you think Kyla's being incredibly unfair, you can tweet at her at Kyla, Carneiro.
Alright. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Or you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Like a couple other people have done.
Yeah! Drop it like it's hot, Kyla. What are some of these reviews?
So first, we have some from our fellow podcast friends. Shout out to Film Roast Podcast.
So fun.
So they agree with us that Gilmore Girls is beloved for its endearing characters, stellar comedy, and clutch pop culture references, but sometimes you're sipping your coffee a little too long to keep up with Rory and Lorelai's quick wit. Wow, great writing, ladies. Thank you.
You guys have quick wit, Hannah and Julia.
Yeah, and I love that they did acronym SIAS, so it's a show. CS. Thanks, that sounds cool. This podcast is two incredibly wise ladies. Oh my gosh. Explaining all those references. This
is so nice.
In one fun, fantastic show. If you enjoy Gilmore Girls and pop culture, there's no way you won't enjoy this pod. Thank you. That was
you
so
guys
sweet.
should go check out the fun, fantastic show, Film Roast.
Yeah, just download and
They're so fun.
It.
They talk
so
about
wise.
Their favorites and least favorites of things in the movies.
Just like we do.
OMG. But, all seriousness, they're super funny and I love them.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies. And then we have another one, 2 in one episode. This is a blast.
OMG.
This person's title I love, and I think you especially will feel undeserving. Better than coffee.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I can live up to those expectations.
It's a high standard. So, this person loves our podcast. Kitten Lover 27.
I love that. My cat-obsessed sister would love it.
So apparently she's begged her mom to let her drink coffee because of Gilmore Girls. But, don't want to stunt your growth, so, I get it. But she says we make Gilmore Girls way more fun. If I could, I would listen to this and watch Gilmore Girls at the same time, just to understand the pop culture reference. You'd have to put Gilmore Girls on pause for a long time to listen to us explain one pop culture reference. That would take a while, but it would make for a fun evening, I think.
Yes. Bake some cookies or something while we talk. Then you have a batch of cookies for your next episode.
Or, better yet, order a pizza, Chinese food, and a Pop-Tart in the toaster.
I love it.
Me too. So, thank you, Kitten Lover 27. High standards. We appreciate it. High compliments.
I know. That's a very good compliment.
Yeah, so y'all out there, drop us some reviews, and we'll give you a little shout out, and we appreciate it. It helps people find us, helps us know that you care.
And
So
just
thank you.
for listening, you beautiful listeners. We appreciate you.
Thank you. It's a blast. Here's a clip for next episode. We will talk to you then.
Until then, we're going to build our beautiful friendship.
Luke looks happy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks happy.
They seem really right together, don't they?
Just right.
Good. He deserves it. So I did the right thing by butting in the way I did.
You butted in for all the right reasons. You were concerned about a friend.
So, if Rachel turns out to be an evil fembot and murders Luke in his sleep, I'm not responsible, am I?
Only in an intergalactic court.